Hey, San Diego, welcome to the Real Estate Zone, all the information you need in today's market. I'm your host, Mike Litton with Keller Williams Realty. Thanks for joining us today. Happy Saturday. We have a terrific show for you today. Joining us today in studio are Trent Chapman, our short sale expert. Welcome, Trent.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
In a little while, we'll have Doug Clark and Mike Baird, stars of Spike TV's new series Flipmen, joining us. They'll be joining us by phone from Utah. As you well know, we're huge supporters of Habitat for Humanity San Diego. Nobody promotes homeownership the way they do here in San Diego. For more information about Habitat for Humanity San Diego, you can visit sdhfh.org. That's sdhfh.org. Please volunteer, donate, support them in any way that you can, San Diego. If you're setting up a charitable remainder trust, if you're setting up an estate, if you're looking for a terrific cause that's one of the best causes we know, that has one of the most noble missions out there, which is promoting home ownership in San Diego County, please remember Habitat in your plans. Make sure you tune in next week. We'll be presenting a forum. Our entire show will be a forum on solutions for anybody who's struggling today. If you or someone you know is struggling with their finances, with their home loan, with their currently owning a home, if they're currently trying to buy a home and they're not able to, you will not want to miss next week's show. We'll have our experts here. We'll have experts calling in. We will have a roundtable discussion for the entire hour dedicated to nothing but scenarios and solutions for people who are struggling today in today's market and today's economy. We want you to know that if you or someone you know is in fact struggling today, you're not alone. And you do in fact have options. Be sure to tune in next week, and please tell anyone you know who is struggling to be sure to tune in next week as well. Next Saturday, this is going to be dedicated to finding solutions for any particular struggle that you may be having financially with regard to real estate, with regard to the economy, etc. We're ready for your call, San Diego, at 1-800-760-5362. That's 1-800-760-5362. You simply will not have a better opportunity to ask any questions that you might have than right now. Give us a call, 1-800-760-5362. That's 1-800-760-KFMB. And get in the zone, San Diego. Hey, really quickly, during this last week, I received some calls, the last couple of weeks, I received calls from our listeners that really didn't want to be on the air. And if you feel like you don't want to be in the air and you just want to talk to me directly off the air, I'm going to give you my direct cell phone number so that you can call me anytime. It's 760-802-9500. It's 760-802-9500. Trent Chapman, as I mentioned, is with us today, and he's our short sale expert. And one of the things that I wanted to do, Trent, really quickly, was I wanted to talk about what's happened in the last week with interest rates and what's happened in the last week with the market. One of the things that we're seeing, and interest rates ticked up a little bit for those of you that haven't been watching them, interest rates did tick up a little bit last week, and they are now above 4%, some of them on 30-year fixed rates, depending upon which lender and depending upon how many points and that type of thing. And what we found is there are a lot of people out there that were kind of sitting on the fence that are now jumping in and they're buying, and they're looking to buy. And one of the things that's happened is we've seen a tremendous uptick recently in just the last 5 days or so, 6 days or so, in activity. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about specifically was what's happening in San Diego and in San Diego's economy versus what's happening around the country. One of the things that people like to talk about is how California has a much, much higher unemployment rate than the rest of the country has. In fact, we're up a couple of points above what the rest of the country is. But what they're not talking about is they're not talking about the fact that in San Diego County, home sales are up. They're not, obviously Case-Shiller came out a couple of weeks ago. The Case-Shiller study came out a couple of weeks ago and indicated that home prices had fallen 5.9%. But the existing home sales for the Western region were up 18% according to the National Association of Realtors. So what that's telling you is the aggressive sellers are the ones who are selling their property today. The sellers who are out there, and a lot of them are banks, a little over 50% of our current closings on a monthly basis, in fact, as of last month, a little over 50% of our closings last month total in San Diego County were traditional sales. But they were traditional sales that those properties had to be staged correctly. Those properties had to be well taken care of. Those properties had to be free of a lot of deferred maintenance, that type of thing. And they had to be priced very, very aggressively. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was specifically how this local market that is San Diego is being impacted by what's going on in the rest of the country. People here in San Diego are listening to the national media. The national media are making it sound like we're selling 3 houses nationwide all year and we're struggling to do that. When in fact last year we sold 5.28 million homes nationwide, and at the absolute peak of a market that we now know was full of fraud and full of smoke and mirrors and the whole 9 yards and had a lot of false volume to it, the absolute peak in 2005 was just over 7.5 million units. And so the difference between those two really is not that dramatic. And in San Diego, our leading economic indicators are continuing to dig out of the valley that they hit back in 2009.